Welcome back to Life on Track, the podcast where we delve into the complexities of personal finance and explore how it intersects with every aspect of our lives. From financial well-being to achieving your dreams, we cover it all. If you've tuned in before, you might be wondering, who are these voices behind the mics? Well, today is the day you get to know us a little bit better. I'm going to share a bit about who we are, how we met, why we're here, and the journey that led us to create this podcast. We've covered some incredibly difficult topics so far, from defining financial independence, including financial infidelity, to politics, financial secrets, how race affects finances, and some of our own experiences. We wanted to jump into the deep end of finance really quickly, and I think we did a good job of that. But we realized it's important for you to know the folks behind the curtain, bringing you these insights each week. So let's dive in. I will start with myself. My name is Shandra Thomas. As you guys know, I have been in the financial industry when I was 18. I'm dating myself. I know this. I started by working with an investor who taught me how to fix credit. I would work with people fixing their credit, and then that way there would be a pool of people that were available to buy homes as he was flipping them. Not long after that, I realized there was money to be made in real estate, quickly ran out and got my real estate license. And so as of today, I've got about 30 years of financial coaching experience and just over 20 years of real estate experience. In those years, I've helped thousands of people. My credentials are AFC. I've had the FFC credential. I've got the certified student loan certification. I've got the certified financial health counselor certification. I've got the certified credit counseling certification. There's a couple of the certifications that I've had that have expired, but I think that's the bulk of it. I will let one of the other ladies go through who they are and what their credentials are.
Hello, I'm Carolee Burse, certified credit counselor. And my journey started when I was 18. I started working for Wells Fargo, and I was a compliance arbitration officer. So it was all about the numbers and trying to save money for Wells Fargo so they wouldn't lose money. And then after
you get it from?
yeah. And then 10 years later, they decided to move out of state, and I opted not to. So then I decided, okay, what am I going to do? And I opened up my own daycare business, and that was 13 years of success and joy. My husband and I decided to move to Sacramento, and I started over again. And I met Chandra, and then the journey began, but we could talk about that later. But I am certified. Every couple of years, I get recertifications: credit counselor, financial coach, credit report specialist. And I also took quite a bit of real estate classes at the college, and that was in 2008. And then I seen where the economy was going, and I didn't take my test. So, but I do have a lot of knowledge there as well. So I'm going to pass it on.
Yes, I am Tiffany Willis. This is my 23rd year in the financial industry. Gosh, my love for it started in high school. I think at taking my first econ class, I just loved the whole concept of what I was studying. So I decided to become an economics major and loved it, but thought I was going to be an attorney. And my problem was I would take poli-sci classes in college and then skip them and invite people to go to IHOP. That was popular at the time. I would invite other students to go to IHOP and skip class. So that's when I decided, okay, no more lawyer. We're going all finance now. So I started out actually working for a company that no longer exists now. I'm in the financial sector out of San Francisco, California, and loved the aspects of trading, hated the stress of what trading billions and billions of dollars per day does to your mental health, your physical health. So I did that for 5 years before I became a teacher. I taught economics and personal finance for 11 years. And that was great until teaching became a little bit of, we call it edutainment, right? Give information, but entertain at the same time. And that could be so hard. So now I still do a part of that in terms of education. And I am certified in retirement planning And that's my joy, helping people to figure out what does this look like long term, and do we have flexibility to explore all of the wonderful things that you can do in retirement, as opposed to it's just a transition. Instead of saying my life is over, it's like, no, maybe. And it's not even for certain that the employment years are over. Maybe, but we got a lot to explore there. So that is my passion, about teaching people about finance without it being so hard, and helping people to understand what I really saw behind the scenes of trading. Because sometimes I see movies and I'm like, triggered. It really is like that. And even worse when you're living it.
When they're flying all the papers and running around the room and yelling, and everyone's yelling at the same time. And oh my gosh, it's really like that.
Oh, if I could tell you what September 11th, 2001 looked like in my office, it was just, that's what I came in the morning. It was papers flying everywhere. People are running. And I'm looking like, what is going on? I had known that the planes had flown into, at least I knew at that point, one plane had flown into one building, but it wasn't really clear about the second plane yet. And boy, I tell you, sometimes I watch like Wolf of Wall Street and I'm like, yeah, I've seen managers get up on desks, tell people what they stand for. Yeah, there's just craziness. So I was happy to get away, to say the least. But it's good to be able to see it from the inside and help everyday investors from the outside. Like, this is really what you need to know, not what you think you need to know.
I will add a couple things about these two ladies, because I know they won't say it about themselves. Carolee is the biggest mama bear that will hold your hand through all of your life's challenges, like nobody I've ever seen. And Tiffany has the absolute talent and skill to reach through a computer screen and connect with people like also I have never seen. So I could not be more proud to be here with both of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
I know they won't say that for themselves. So.
Yes, and you won't say it about you too. That play excellent, and I've told you this before, but leadership skills. You do leadership how leadership should be done.
Oh,
everybody could take a master class from you.
Yes, that means a lot. Thank you. And I didn't say those nice things to make you say something nice about me either.
But look, I'm not going to leave you out here.
No, hey.
Well, I don't think we would be here if it wasn't for your leadership through the years.
Sure.
Couldn't be here without you guys. So we're a team. We are a good team, which brings us to how did we get here? I know that we all have our background, our histories. We all have our passions, right? And clearly we're all passionate about this industry, if you will. We're all passionate about a lot of things, I would say, but finance is up there on the list. We've literally built our careers around it. I can tell you a very quick story that is embarrassing, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel about myself that will lead very quickly into how I met Carolee. As we all do, there's a lot of chapters we live in our lives, right? So I was living in Southern California for many years. The investor that I spoke of a moment ago, he had passed away. And so I decided to move back to Northern California to be closer to my family, which is where we still are. Well, me and Carolee are. Tiffany is in Florida. So I've been self-employed for many years, right, in the real estate industry. And having transplanted myself, I needed a way to make money. Savings wouldn't last forever. So I went out and I got a job. It was very short-lived. And when I had that as a sales position, and if you know me, I'm not hardcore sales. I am very soft core sales. I am relationship building and let's close when you're ready to, right? So I didn't do great at this job. I had an opportunity to propose a deal. I'm not going to use names, but I had an opportunity to propose a deal. And let me just say that commission on this deal would have been $100,000. I was in my early 30s. That was a lot of money. It's a lot of money today to make one check, right? But that was even more back then. So, and to say I was nervous, understatement. My director drove out from San Francisco to be there for this proposal. another colleague flew up from Phoenix to also be there for this proposal because it was such a huge opportunity. I was really good at getting the opportunities. I just wasn't good at closing them. So I stand up. My time has come. I stand up. I get one sentence out, just one. And my mind went completely blank. I have never been more embarrassed in my whole entire life. I just stood there. And so my director, true story, my director who was sitting next to me, or she was sitting, but to my left and back a little bit, he stood up, walked up to the mic. It was a big board of directors that we were speaking to, right? And he walked up to the mic, took over, completely crushed it, said all the right things that I was supposed to say. Needless to say, we didn't get the deal. Shocker there, right? So I went home and I found out later I didn't get the deal, but what I did immediately was I went home and I said, this isn't going to defeat me. I have two choices, right? I started researching what is available to me. The two choices that came up was go to a local community college, take some public speaking classes because clearly I needed some help. And that was a little more expensive, right? And again, I just shared money is tight and restarting and transplanted myself. And so the second option was Toastmasters. I will say that name. There was a local chapter of Toastmasters down the street from where I lived. It was a lot cheaper. It was a lot more long-term. It was more of that club feel, right? And so I decided, well, let's give it a shot. So I think it was Tuesdays. I don't know, Carolee, correct me if Tuesdays evenings or something we met.
It was Tuesdays.
It was Tuesday. I showed up, didn't know, I went by myself. I knew I needed to do this, right? And so I walk in the door and immediately I am met by these two beautiful women, a little bit younger than me. Who are you? Like completely engaging, right? And of course I rolled 6. This is what I'm going to do, right? One of them, her name was Tiana, and one of them, her name was Talia. And so I started talking to them and they're asking me the questions that everyone does. What do you do for a living? This, that, and the other, right? And so I relied on my past and said I'm a credit counselor and self-employed in real estate, that kind of thing. And they're like, oh, well, Tiana did. I need to introduce you to my mom. Enter Carolee Burse. That's a true story. I'll let you take it from here, Carolee, and I can interject more, but that's my side of how I met Carolee.
It's been a beautiful journey. Where we're at, where we were, and where we're at today. Love what I do. I'm compassionate about it. I wouldn't want it any other way in my life. When I met Chandra, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe it was meant to be because I'm going to tear up because it's been a lot of years. And right away when we met, I was doing credit counseling for a company, DMC, and I was just learning about it. I was real interested because I love numbers. So I learned how to do that. And then when we met and Shandra said credit counseling and we just started talking at Toastmasters and I was there too as well because it was a fear to speak in public and I wanted to learn to get on stage and talk. And so when we were talking, I don't know how it came about, Chandra, when we said, well, let's start a for-profit company.
Yeah.
And it was like...
You were working with, I forget her name, and that's fine because I probably wouldn't say it out loud anyway.
Yeah.
But you were working with someone who, I don't remember the details, but she was either moving in a different direction or I think something was happening to where you didn't feel very supported by her or something like that. And so as we started talking more, we realized, well, why don't we just work together? Right. And so we created OnTrak Solutions, a for-profit company. We drove all over Sacramento County, El Dorado Hills, Granite Bay, all the way out to like West Sac, South. We drove everywhere. And we had a lot of clients that we helped. One day, Carolee calls me and she says, you know how I grew up in American Canyon? Well, I reached out just randomly, like nobody asked her to. She just did this. This is like who she is. She just randomly reached out to the Family Resource Center that was located in American Canyon. And for those of you who aren't local, American Canyon is one of the smaller towns in Napa County, Napa Valley, right? Napa County. And so she goes, I reached out to the Family Resource Center and told them what we were doing. And they said that they're actually starting to put this center together and they really love to talk to us about participating like service in this center. And I was like, let's do it. And so we drove out to American Canyon, had a series of meetings. United Way of the Bay Area, a little bit of context here, created an initiative back in 2008, I think. And their goal was lofty. They said by 2020, they want to cut poverty in the Bay Area by 50%. And looking back, is very lofty.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
However, it was a very passionate goal, right? And so it was really easy for us to get behind that. They started funding what's now known as Spark Point Centers. There's 24 of them now around the Bay Area. Carolee and I, over the years, have partnered with, I think, 10 or 11 of them at different times, not all at the same time. But we were partners with the American Canyon Center, which was the first Spark Point Center that opened its doors. And so we were told that we could, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, Carolee. I want the story.
I think we were the second one because Oakland was the first.
Oh, was Oakland the first? Okay.
Yeah, Oakland was the first.
My apologies.
But with United Way, we were able to sit at the table and help brainstorm with their meetings on what their mission was for the Bay Area and the families. And so that was also not a coincidence, and it was amazing. So go ahead, Chandra.
We were told that they really appreciated our services. Like we filled a niche that they really didn't have a lot of partners for, and they couldn't continue to work with us if we didn't have our nonprofit status. So I went home, printed out the 1023, started filling it out, worked with the IRS, fast-tracked our exemption status, and 8 months later, we had our 501c3. And I think that was 2012, I think. So yeah, we've been together, I think, since 2008. I don't know. I'm not doing the math on how long that is.
You said not today.
Not today. It's
about 16 years, really. If you think about it, it's many years.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had the opportunity to help a lot of people at a lot of centers in a lot of different ways. And it's work that we're very proud of. Fast forward to 4-ish years ago, 3-ish years ago, Tiffany and I met and instantly hit it off. And it wasn't very long before I was like, and she doesn't go by Tiff, but I'm going to say it this way anyways. Okay. Hey, Tiff. Want to come on board? And I will let you tell the rest.
Yeah, it was such an interesting conversation because I had never heard you that cautious. And so I'm like, oh no, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? And it was funny when you finally said it, I was like, oh, yeah. Like, I was like, that's what it is. Yeah. I am really passionate always about helping people. It's funny because literally last night, like I was talking to someone who I call a friend. She charges me $140 an hour and she says she's my therapist. We don't agree on our roles, but we'll work on that in the next couple of sessions. And like, she's like, she actually told me, she's like, you got to work on balancing wanting to help people with like doing too much. Because my answer is always, no matter what, yes, absolutely. Because I know what it feels like. I grew up, even though I know I'm, as Shandra mentioned earlier, I'm in Florida, but I grew up in the Bay Area.
Oh,
and it's so funny. Yeah. I always feel like, I don't know if it's you guys, but I always feel like I have to pick a side between San Francisco and Oakland. And I'm like, it's a bridge ride. Like, I was with my mom during the week in Oakland and with my dad on the weekend in San Francisco. So and then my mom couldn't afford, I love the mission that you talked about, Chandra, because one of the reasons we moved to Sacramento is because my mom couldn't afford the Bay Area anymore as a single parent. And my father, unfortunately, was not helping out financially in any way. And it was just a struggle like every day. I think I still have like trauma of like pacing, hurry up, get to the babysitter because my mom's got to get on BART. She's got to get on BART. And like, I rode BART the other day, like not the other day, but like I rode BART a little while ago and like past Fruitville Station and just my whole childhood memories. Cause I was like, oh, there was my babysitter's house right there. Cause my mom literally had a babysitter that was like, I got to get a babysitter that is by the BART station so I can get to work on time. And eventually it just became so much of a struggle. She was just like, I can't afford to raise you here. And I was plucked out of the Bay Area into Sacramento at a time where Sacramento was not diverse. And it was extremely difficult to go from one environment in which everybody looks like me to an environment where now I'm the only one. And that's how it went for many years. And so I'm always passionate about helping people who feel a little lost. I'm not saying, of course, Shandra, not you, of course.
No.
It sparks my passion on wanting to help people because I know what it feels like to be like, this group has more than me, but I've got to learn to adapt. And I feel out of place. I remember feeling that when I was a college student at UC Davis. And I just remember first quarter being on academic probation, so stressed out about not only grades, but I'm trying to figure out how to pay the tuition. And I was making $7 an hour. And like, I couldn't participate in any college activities, what a normal college student would be, because I was like running from campus to try to go back and work in Sacramento from Davis, less than an hour to get from Davis to Rancho Cordova to work at Bank of America and like working 2 jobs. And so I'm always really passionate. When somebody asks, I say yes. And I think I always, trick of the mind, see that I don't want anybody to feel like how I felt when I got plucked out of environment or when I was struggling at UC Davis and not feeling like I fit in. And I'm like, is no one caring about paying tuition here? Like, I remember going into the financial aid office one day and just almost getting on my knees and begging them because I hadn't eaten in days and my head hurt. I couldn't concentrate in class. And I just was like, I have to give in. I don't know what you guys can do for me, but I'm dying here. Please help me. And thank God that wonderful woman in the financial aid office, there was a typewriter and she just pulled up a check and she's like, we have emergency funding for college students. Don't you ever let it get to this point where you cannot focus. And so that gave me $300, but it felt like $3 million because it was like, I can eat. I haven't eaten. So I was like, I can eat. I can pay my electricity bill. And it was just a little bit of relief. And so I'm always like, yes, I hate to see people needing help and getting relief. And so I'm just now learning to kind of balance that and be like, my therapist is like, that time is over. She was like, you've more than made up for it in eating. I was like, you don't have to read me the filth on that. But I'm always going to say yes to anybody that needs help.
You are good about that.
Except a man, sorry. Let's be clear.
You are good about that. You're good about not being able people need you.
Yeah.
But I will remind you, as I would say to myself, you still have to take care of yourself. You can't give what you don't have, right?
Sure.
If you don't take care of you, you can't take care of others.
You got it. Yep.
Which I think we've all said to each other at one time or another.
Absolutely. I say it all the time.
Yeah.
I say it to other people and then I take a look at myself.
Exactly.
Like, oh.
I know it's hard to not saying it. Yeah, it back. That was like the fast track version of our stories, right? I know it's a lot of years that we covered and how we came together, but I want to do two more things before we close out. I want to address why we're here. I know that we've all shared that we're passionate about the work, right? And a lot of people can be a lot of passionate. That's not right English. A lot of people can be very passionate about what they want to do and what their career is built around. But one of the reasons, or one of the many reasons I'm super proud to be here with these ladies, is because they put their time and energy where their mouth is. And this work is a demonstration of that. Our goal here is really to come together to create a safe space for people to understand that they're not alone in their finances. I wasn't taught finances as a child. I don't want to say the worst. I made some really big mistakes that I had to dig my way out of. And that's part of what taught me that I needed to do better. I needed to pay forward what I had learned. And that's literally why I built my career around it. And I know that Carolee and Tiffany have similar stories in that regard, just like Tiffany shared. But why are we here? Like, why are we doing this outside of the passion, outside of wanting to help? What are we trying to accomplish with this podcast? Why should people continue to listen to us and show up? If we're going to be continuing to put the effort into recording these and putting them out, why should people continue to join us?
I think one of the biggest things is like I just pulled on with my experience. I now know financial trauma is a thing, right? Because it recycles now. It's been almost 25 years since that experience. But the weight of just talking about that story makes me go back to the physical feeling of what it felt like to be sad, where I felt it in my body, and the beauty of being heard when I walked in that office and said I was desperate. So I think one of the biggest reasons to continue to listen is that you're in a safe place where you can be heard. I'm not against whatsoever social media. Of course, I know that there's a lot of financial people on social media spitting out, do this, just do that. But sometimes when I read in the comments, it's like, yeah, but, and it's insert of the story, of their own story, right? Now, you're lucky if the content creator can get back to you. Oftentimes, of course, the big ones cannot. But I think with this, you have a safe place where somebody's sharing their story, which I don't think social media always highlights in terms of the tough stuff. Like you said, you made some big mistakes. I've talked about being vulnerable and desperate when it comes to money sometimes. But on social media, you don't necessarily get that with a lot of content creators. It's like, well, just do this. And you have a lot of people who say, yeah, but how? And here you have a safe place that not only you can hear other stories of vulnerability, but also you can have a way to make sure that you not only see somebody, but have access to somebody that can really hear you, listen to you, and help you. And that's why I'm passionate about it and wanting to have people listen. What about you, Carolee?
I think the same thing as you said. It's a safe place. The education, you putting it out there. I mean, we didn't grow up knowing finances. Other than high school, I took record keeping and bookkeeping, and I think that's why the numbers are in my head. But we weren't taught, and I hear that a lot from individuals. Well, my parents didn't teach, or my mom didn't teach me about finances, and I think having us with this podcast and getting the word out there and letting them know that things are going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And the education part is very empowering. Empowering. I can't even say it today. Long day. Empowering to individuals and families. And then it can change generations.
Yeah.
They can give it to their children and teach their children what they're going to learn. And so what you said, Tiffany, hit it right on the nail. I really feel the same way. That's why we're here. Get the word out there to be a safe place and to change generations.
Yes.
if you had to pick, I'm putting you on the spot here because we didn't talk about this. If you had to pick your favorite moment in your career when you knew that you really helped someone, what did that look like?
Question. One time I had helped somebody and it wasn't, I gave them any type of direction. I just listened. And the story was intricate and deep.
Yeah.
And you could see it in their physical appearance, the stress. It was the first time that I had seen. I think a lot of times we carry stress well because it's just part of American environment and culture.
Yeah.
But sometimes when it gets to the point where it pushes you to your edge, I saw the physical manifestation of somebody who had a really wonderful light, but was under so much pressure that it showed. And given the story, I would have been concerned too. Because financial shocks, especially big ones, like I heard the story just yesterday where somebody was getting a divorce and it was in the divorce that they found out they were $1.6 million in debt as a couple that had never been disclosed by the spouse. And I'm like, when you find out those big financial booms,
Yeah.
and now your life is going to change. There's just no choice. And it's very unfortunate. And no one can really come in there and help you to absorb those types of shocks. I listened to the story. I didn't even say anything. I just connected the person with someone who could get them on a track. I couldn't even promise right track because it was like so tough, but just a track. And then I saw them a little bit later, like maybe a year or two later. And I didn't even recognize them the second time that I saw them. I didn't recognize the person. And the person was like, "You remember me, don't you?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Yeah, you do." And she told me the story. And I was like, "Oh my goodness." Just connecting her with that person helped her to figure stuff out and have somebody that was going to be there for her. I didn't do the work here, but just connecting her with that person and then seeing, I'm like, oh, this is what you look like when life is lighter. It was a totally different person. And I was like, oh, I think I just took for granted that we carry stress well and we're all walking around and all of us are under some degree of stress, right? But to see the immense pressure and then also see the physical manifestation of what it looks like when that pressure is lifted, I was like, oh, I'm helping people because it was just a much different look.
Yeah. What a great story. What about you, Carolee?
What was the question again?
What's a favorite moment of yours when you remember, or what did it feel like or look like when you knew you had helped someone?
I've helped so many through the years. And I think it's just not one person that I could nail down. I think there's a lot of them that I have really helped in a way of listening, like Tiffany said, like really listening to their story and what they've been through and working close with them and letting them know that there is hope and that we're here for you. And they also the trust that they have and and for them to know that everything's confidential on their story that they have said to me or to anyone that we're working with as a team. I think that, and like you said, Tiffany, just the change.
Yeah.
You can see the change of appearance, the more, okay, I'm feeling better. And even when there's clients that decide to do bankruptcy, and because all this debt, they're sitting on it and it's like a big bag on their backs and just weighing their shoulders down and they can't sleep, they can't eat, they can't do this. And after they're done with the bankruptcy, they're like, ah, I can move on with my life now. It's not that bad. I can fix my credit.
Yeah.
I can fix my finances. I can save money now.
Yeah.
So I just, like you said, the transformation on their body language, their face, their conversations with you change as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's mine similar to Carolee's. It's really hard to pinpoint. I do have a story. I have two stories, but I'm only going to share one. When I was younger and I worked with my mentor / investor, everyone, he's a big part of my life. His name was Mel. He used to tell me all the time that I'm just the butler. As I'm working on me or my career, he would always say, I'm just the butler. You have to do the hard work. Like you have to go to school or you have to do the hard work to get where you want to go. Right. And it never made sense to me because I always felt like you have this safety net and I always knew that I would be okay. And so I never believed what he was saying in the way that he was saying it. I don't know if that makes sense. Until I fast forwarded, right? Mel has passed. I'm well into another chapter in life. I've rebuilt my finances. I've started companies and I start working with people again and fast forward again, I don't know, a year or two or three. And I start getting random emails, an email that might say, or a Facebook message or something. And it says, or I've actually got cards in the mail that say, Dear Chandra, you will never know the impact you had on me. Or Dear Chandra, I thank you so much for all the effort you put into helping me. You'll never know the impact that you've had, I can't count how many times I have received that kind of response. And it wasn't until then I realized and I understood what Mel meant about being the butler. I put myself in those shoes, right? And I always give my clients the biggest accolades because I can point you in the right direction, just like Mel pointed me in the right direction. But I can't do the hard work for you. I can't make you sit down on a Saturday and go through your spending for the week. I can't make you not spend as much so that we can put more money towards debt. I can't make you do those things. You're the one who has to do the hard work. I can point you in the right direction. And I don't know, it was just, for me, it's a beautiful connection with my present life to my past life. And that I wouldn't compare myself to Mel, but I would say that I understand now what he meant because now I can say to my clients, I'm just the butler. I'm happy to hold your hand, walk you through the process. And it's very possible that I may not even see the outcome. I'm going to plant a lot of seeds. I'm going to work with you as long as you're willing to work with me, but you may not see the fruits of your efforts for 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, right? Because sometimes fixing things can take a while. And it's those moments when I realize I made the right choices. I've done the right things and I'm in the right place. Right. And so when I talk about being passionate about this work, it's not just aligning with my decisions. It's aligning with who I am. I don't know a better way to say that. So if you ever work with me and you ever hear me say, but I'm just the butler, I honestly, truly mean it. It's a big compliment to whoever I'm working with that you have to do the hard work. I can point you in the right direction. I can't make you do it. So.
And I think going through the motions with the clients that you're working with, you don't realize the impact that you are having with their lives.
Yeah.
Until they do a client story or they tell you how they feel about you. Like I don't know what I'd do without you. And it's hard for me to accept because I'm so giving.
Yeah.
And it really is. But when I see that and hear that, it's like, I am doing good works. I am helping people.
Yeah. And isn't it a great joy sometimes to know that you have, especially, Chandra, I love the way you talk about Mel because it sounds like at a time that you really needed him in life, an angel pops up and says, I can help you and let's go. And I think it's always great when you just have moments in life where, whatever it may be of the season, like maybe it's I give up, maybe it's I'm desperate, maybe it's just, it's been too much. And somebody comes and says, you know what, it's not over yet. And I'm just going to walk by you if that's what's needed. I'm going to motivate you if that's what's needed. And I'm not looking for anything in return. I'm just here to do my assignment as it pertains to you. And that's it. If we could start getting back to that and how we treat people, listen, I might stay here and not go to Mars.
Well, I know through when I first met Shandra, she told me lots of stories about Mel, and I felt like I knew him.
Right. Yeah. The way
And
she
I wanted to hear the stories of him all the time.
Yes.
So we would go to the Bay Area together in the car, and she would talk about Mel, and it was like I felt like I knew him.
Yeah. You definitely carry his legacy so well, Chandra. So
I agree.
And for somebody that I have never physically met, I feel like I know deeply, and it's an inspiration. So I really wish we could get back to out of our opinions so much in this society. I think we were so entwined in our opinions that we forget how much of a joy it is to just help somebody for the sake of helping somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
Just despite their flaws.
Yeah. No judgment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys. Thank you. And thank all of you for joining us today. We've been waiting to do this episode, so I hope it was worth the wait. We wanted to dive into some of those really deep conversations first to show what we're passionate about before we told you who we are, right? So hopefully our plan worked. Thank you for joining us on this special episode of Life on Track. I hope you enjoyed learning more about who we are, how we met, and why we're so passionate about personal finance. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out our previous episodes where we dive into hot financial topics that are very tricky and sometimes taboo. We have a lot of valuable content waiting for you, and we are just getting started. We'd also love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Please don't be shy. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think about today's episode, what topics are top of mind for you. We really want to build these out so that they are in support of what is of interest to you guys, and your input helps shape our future episodes. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review Life on Track on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing the content that you are beginning to love. So thanks again for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode. And until then, keep your finances on track.